One of my subscribers made a comment that she wanted me to do a tutorial on the Cindy's Travel Wagon, and so that's what I'm going to attempt to do this time. First off, we're going to show you the tools, but the Travel Wagon, Cindy's Travel Wagon, was on the one of my first videos, and she saw that, she liked it, and asked me if I would do the tutorial, and I said, well, sure. So here we go. I'm going to first show the tools, what you're going to need, and then we'll go on. This is going to take several sessions, several videos, so be patient with me. Gather your stuff. Okay, you're going to need a pencil and an eraser, metal ruler, and the reason I say a metal ruler, you could use a plastic, but when you're cutting paper or doing any kind of cutting, you tend to nick the edge of your plastic rulers. A metal ruler, you don't do that so much, and also it has a cork backing on it so it doesn't slip. I love my metal ruler. They come in many sizes too, and they're not very expensive. They're pretty thrifty. You're also going to need some needle nose pliers. The reason being, you'll need this. The needle nose pliers should have wire cutters on the side, unless you have wire cutters just for that purpose. But the needle nose pliers comes in handy if you're working with wires, as I do too. So that's what the blade is for right here. I hope you can see that. Okay. Now then, you're going to need a craft knife, a good sturdy one. You're also going to need a good pair of scissors. I love these scissors. These are Fiskars, and they'll cut just about anything. It says only fabric or material, but I cut it with most everything. You're going to need some 40 grit or very coarse sandpaper. The reason you'll need that, I'll explain in just a few minutes. You're going to need some cardboard. If you decide to make the wheels of your wagon out of cardboard, it should be 5 millimeters thick here, and then you'll need 8 of these, and they're 2.5 inches in diameter. You'll also cut out the center here, but you'll measure in 1/2 inch from the outer edge to the inner edge, and I'll show you the reason why for that. If you decide you don't want to go into that much work, you can also buy these wheels, these wooden wheels, and you can get them from a place called Woodpile, I think it is. I'll leave it down in the description below, the link. They're fairly cheap. You can also get them from, it's called Shelley Geigel's. She has a website that she sells products on, and this is where I got her idea from, was her gypsy wagon. Now, I don't call it a gypsy wagon in respect to her. I call it a travel wagon. I don't want to take her name, and I wouldn't want to upset anyone who calls theirs gypsy wagon. So I call it a travel wagon, and it doesn't look exactly like hers anyway. You can make your own designs, and that's what I want you to do. Okay, now you can also use foam board. The foam board looks like this. You can get this at Walmart. You can get it at Hobby Lobby and Dollar Tree. Now, if you get it at Dollar Tree, it's not the best quality, and the paper on the outside, if it gets anywhere where there's moisture, that paper will peel off, and you don't want that. I do use this, but I cover it with, this is for the base only, and I cover it with cardstock or paper from my travel wagons. Okay. The foam board comes in sheets of 29 inches by 20 inches, and it's 1/4 of an inch thick. Some places carry it in color, but I prefer white. Okay, now, the reason you're going to need the needle nose pliers is when you make your wheels, if you decide to make your wheels, you're going to make them like this. And you'll need eight of these single wheels like this. You'll need 8 of these, and you're going to glue those together after you put your spokes in between, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a little bit. You'll also need to cut another piece of cardboard the same thickness. You'll need 2 of those as well, so you're going to need 8, and they're 1/2 inch in diameter. Then you'll poke a hole in the middle for the skewers. You're going to need 2 skewers, and the skewers are going to go into the wheel like this. And we're going to go through all this, show you how to make it. But this is when you're using the sandpaper, you'll be sanding off these little nubs that you'll cut off with your needle nose pliers. You'll cut those off, and then you're going to have a little piece that sticks out past the wheel. You're going to need that sandpaper to sand that down, but be careful you don't sand too close because you'll flatten it, and then you'll have a flat place on your wheel. So be gentle with it. Okay, the next thing you're going to need, if you use, well, whether you use the cardboard or not, you're going to need something, and I use beads, but you're going to need something to keep your wheels in place. And I use beads, and I make sure, these are just children's beads, but I make sure that the skewer will go through that bead. You could probably use Palmer clay and make a little wheel like this, or a little flower like this, or something to go onto your skewer. This stops your wheels from sliding back and forth on your skewer. And so I'll show you about that one too. You're going to need 8 of those. No, I'm sorry. You're going to need 3, 6, 9, 12 of these. You're going to need 12 of these. Now, out of the foam board, you're going to cut, and I'll give you the measurements a little bit later, but you're going to cut the axle holders. That's what I call them, and they're 3/4 of an inch wide and 1 1/4 inches long. You'll need 4 of these. Okay, now the next thing, I'm going to move these out of the way so that we can, I'll be right back. The next thing we're going to talk about is adhesives and glues, the different types of glue. You're going to need a hot glue gun. If you've been in crafts of any kind, you probably know what a hot glue gun is, but in the new crafters, the ones who are just starting out, a hot glue gun, I like the mini gun and the low temp. The reason being, if you get a high temp, you have a very good chance of getting burnt. It's happened to the best of us, and it will scar. It will take this skin off. A low temp, it will burn, but I haven't had it to scar. I have with the high temp. I have a larger gun than this. I like the mini gun because it has a better detailed tip on it. Yes, this is how I have it plugged in. It has a smaller detailed tip. The larger gun, the tip on it is much larger, and it tends to glop, or blop, if that's a word. And you use the mini sticks in it. These are the mini sticks that go in the back. Be very careful. Someone told me that there is a good Gorilla Glue mini sticks for the minigun, so I'm going to try that. I've not used them yet, and I'm glad they told me, because I am going to try it. I got 2 packs of it, and they're a little more expensive. They're not really outrageous, but they're a little bit higher priced than the regular hot glue. But if it holds, it's worth it. I love the Aleene's Tacky glue, and you will need a good tacky glue. The smaller bottle looks just like this one. I take this and I fill up my small bottles with the detailed tips. That's why I have this big one. And I fill up these kind of bottles with a detailed tip. They're easier. Can you see that? They're easier to get in the small areas. I also have a smaller one, which I use when I do quilling. I do a lot of quilling. And this has a metal tip, and it's very tiny. It's about half the size of the other one. And if it gets clogged, you can put a pin, like a sewing pin, thin sewing pin, down in there, and these tips don't pull out. When I got before I got these, I was afraid to try them because I was afraid the tip would pull out, but it doesn't so far. I also use, you can laugh if you wish, but I also use wood glue. If I don't have the Aleene's Tacky glue, I will use wood glue. It's Elmer's glue, wood glue, and it acts just like the Aleene's Tacky glue, in my opinion. It holds, and it also glues at the same time. And yeah, so it does have a yellow color to it. Now when it dries, it's not totally clear, but neither is the Aleene's Tacky white glue. Neither one of those are totally clear, but they're like a translucent, not a transparent. Aleene's puts out a clear gel tacky glue. I don't recommend this glue. Maybe for paper, and it acts like a children's school glue, the clear school glue. Some things it will not hold. That's the reason I don't like it. I've used it, I use it on paper or things I'm not too worried about. But I have used it with pearls and putting those, trying to glue those onto cardboard, or I mean chipboard, and they'll pop off. So I don't recommend this. I do recommend the Aleene's Tacky glue. Now, if you have a better glue, if you've got you're using a glue that you like better, by all means do that. I just happen to like the Aleene's. Also, you're going to need some adhesive. This is score tape. Now, score tape is the strongest in my opinion. It holds albums together. You're going to need this for sure. So be sure and get this. You can get it on Amazon, I believe. I haven't gotten mine on Amazon, but I have gotten mine on eBay. And a lot of times they'll sell them in bulk form. Like you can get 4 or you can get 6. Sometimes you can get 12. I've gotten as high as 10. They're not real expensive, but you're going to need this. Now Hobby Lobby has one similar. Well, let me do this. I'll show you the package first. This is what the package looks like. It's score tape, and it's an excellent glue. It's double-sided sticky, and that's what you're going to need. Now Hobby Lobby has and I think Michael's does too, has this kind, but there's only 5 yards in this. In this one, there is 27 yards. And this is expensive. You know, if you want to spend that much, that's up to you, but I would rather go with the other. And I've not tried this. I don't know how strong it is. I'm just letting you know that they do have this, but my opinion, I would rather go with the score tape because I know the price of it. I know the price of this too, and it's too high for me. Okay, another thing that you can use, and it's just as strong as the score tape. The only thing is, it's kind of bulky, and it's hard to get in small areas, is your ATG gun. You load it up with this this kind of reel, and this is what it looks like. It comes similar to the score tape. It will have this on it, and then you have to thread it into your gun. This is very strong as well. Scotch brand makes it, and I recommend that if you're not going to get into small areas. If you're going to do large areas, then by all means, go ahead and get that. The gun is a little expensive. Not overwhelming, but a little expensive. But the tapes are not that much. They're about the same price as the score tape. Now when you load this gun up, it comes with instructions. And this is how it loads. You put one of them over here, load it around, and it comes around and winds around there when it's finished. And then this is the trigger. So this is not good for small areas. So, you know, it's up to you. If you don't want to get this, that's fine too. Okay, the next thing, let me get this out of the way, and I will be right back. Okay, 2 other things you're going to need is a paper cutter, and I like this one because it's durable, it's accurate, more so than the other one I had. It was half this size, and it just had a wire that came down through here, and then it didn't have this folding area. This is 2 parts. It had just a wire and then the cutter. Now, that can come in handy if that's all you can afford, that's fine. But I like this one because it's more accurate. I found the other one was off by an 1/8 of an inch to a 1/16 of an inch. And this one also, let's see if I can do this one-handed, it folds up and you can put it away. I really like that. The next thing you're going to need is a scoreboard. And a scoreboard is to make a crease in your paper without cutting it. This one has an area up here that you can keep your bone folder in. And then your measurements are along here. Your creases are line up with your measurements, and you also have measurements on the side. It goes with 1/8 of an inch, where the other one, some of the others don't have that fine of a measurement, but I really like this one. So if you can't afford a scoreboard and you can't afford this, you can always use scissors. Just be careful that you're more accurate, or use your knife, your craft knife. You're definitely going to need the craft knife, no matter what. If you use the scoreboard, I mean, if you can't afford a scoreboard, I'm sorry, you can take the blunt end of a kitchen knife, the backside, and run it along your your ruler on something soft, like soft cardboard or something like that, and make a crease. You're going to need some hinges for your travel wagon. The next things we're going to need are the wood items and the latches and things like that. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but when you're making the wheels, you're going to need something, and let me get it out here. You're going to need something to put this hole right here in the middle of your wheel. So you can use either, what, honey? You can either use, I have a cat, a beautiful cat, either an ice pick, which is what I have, or you can use a knitting needle, but just make sure it's the same size as your skewers are. Because your skewers are going to go into your wheel, like that. So you're going to need two skewers. You can get these in the party supplies. I think in the gardening where the barbecues and stuff are. I'm not sure about that one, but I do know that you can get these in the party supplies. Do not get the thinner ones. They do have some that are thinner. You want those that are of the thicker kind. The thicker, the more sturdy, because you're going to put the wheels on it. You can use a dowel rod if you wish, but you'll have to probably make that hole bigger. I don't know. I haven't used dowel rods. I've used the skewer, but then it depends on what size you use too. I'm not sure what the size of the skewer is. Okay, now what I've made here is a template. Hold on just a minute. Okay, sorry about that. I had to take care of my kitty cat. She don't normally want on my lap. She's not a lap kitty, but this time she was begging, so, and she may do that yet. Anyway, I have made this as a template so that I can get the wheels and the spokes straight. What I do is I put the wheel on here. Let me show you. I put this on first, and then I put the center wheel in. I put the center wheel in, and that goes over there. I haven't got the hole in that yet. I apologize for that. Then I put some pins, a couple of straight pins, in between these lines. Now I put the lines on here. I don't know if you can see those. So that there's 8 lines, 8 sections. And then I got the outer circle and the inner circle and where the axle goes. When I put this on, I put 2 pins in it just to hold it down. And then I put the axle in the center. And then I take the wheel, I take my craft knife and I cut along these lines, and then I push down where the lines cross. Let me show you. I need that. Okay, sorry about that. I take the craft knife and I cut not all the way through. I just cut the top layer. And I go all the way across from the one side to the other, but don't go all the way through. You don't need to. Then I take my something like my pick or something to push that down with, and I make an indent like that. Then I take my toothpick after I've cut the end off, which I take the needle nose pliers and nip that off. Well, that one's already nipped off. Okay, that one I cut off that tip, the pointed part, and I put where I've cut it off, I put it up against the post, and I push down into the groove. When I lift it back up, I then put glue, hot glue. Let me show you. I put hot glue in here, and then I put hot glue in the groove. Then I put my, I push down on my toothpick, and I push it in that groove so that it glues there. It will glue there. Then I have 8 of those around the wheel, just like this. That's how it'll come out. Then I take the other wheel and I put it on top, and the other axle and put it on top. Then I glue those together. That makes our wheel. You'll make 4 of these, and that's why I told you have to cut 8 of them, because you have to make like a sandwich. Now, after you get it cut, you're going to take your rough sandpaper and you're going to sand down those nubs that are sticking up above the cardboard where you cut them off at. But be careful you don't flatten down your cardboard.